to a great Sunday. Today we got an exciting day. Today, already fifth podcast today with a theme post-launch, building the product and establishing brand. This is a free talk, guys, discussion over crypto. We got some non kind of promotional aspect or marketing. We simply try to gather and talk about issues and some stuff around in the crypto community. So today's guest list. At first, I want to thank the Midnight Show attending today for the first time. Then we got a F.A.T.E in here again, Phoenix Blockchain. They will might attend later since not sure where the speaker is right now, but we'll wait and they will maybe join later. Also, again, we got here Cheesus Lounge. So guys, thank you a lot for joining us today. And as I'm saying, today we will be talking on the post-launch, so building the product, establishing the brand. So at first, I think it is quite exciting to really dig into how we got into being like both either project owners or even the launch owners. So we'll start with the Midnight, and I want to ask like, how did you start the launch, and like what's led you toward the decision?
So for my lounge, to be fair, I've been part of a lot of communities since 2012, even starting from the forum days. But what made me start a lounge was when I was in a project called Everise, and I helped these guys. Vladimir will know this. I helped these guys quite a fair bit, got them to a really good stage in their project through my connections. And in the end, what happened was they kind of betrayed my trust. And I thought, you know what, I'm just here, I'm going to help people. And the whole point of TMS is to actually keep it clean and try and deliver good projects. That was essentially it, and to avoid scams. And we've kind of exposed projects as well as, when we've done marketing and done contracts for projects, we've actually held projects on the spot. Like we've stopped them from actually scamming or pulling liquidity because we had the contract. And what we did is we just reduced the taxes to zero, and people were freely trading that token and getting their money back. Obviously, with any project like that, when you don't know if it's got a future, it's always going to someone's going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. And then that's a risk that people take, right? So if everyone knows what's going on, but if they choose to take that risk, it's up to them. So my story is I've been here a long time, and I've always tried to support projects and help them out as best I can, but as well as make sure that they're not screwing with the community or people around me.
Awesome. We got another owner of the launch, and that is CH. So, CH, how did you start it again on the launch of Cheesus, and like what you led toward this decision?
Actually, it's kind of similar with Midnight, as he mentioned. Just a lot of scams happening in the space that we work in, and me and Urufman, we were the two people who has been a victim of a lot of these kind of scams. And we already have some connections. We were active in other lounges, and we learned from those lounges, made some connections, and we decided to create a community that is more chill. So everyone is going to be inclusive. It's actually not that professional because we wanted to be as chill of a lounge as possible. And thus we got Cheesus Lounge. And so far, the projects that we look at, we do some sort of some improvements in terms of like vetting projects that we got into our projects. And of course, the AMAs that we have. Since we've been to this podcast, we've been having a lot of suggestions from people here. I think the guy from Skeptic, Chris, also talked to us about that. So it's all about just giving the community the safe projects that we can find, and of course, giving them the quality AMAs and providing quality AMAs as well for projects that reach us out to us. So that's pretty much what the Cheesus Lounge is, and that's how we started.
Great. Now, guys from F.A.T.E, we got to know Gilda today in here, so I think he would enjoy the question. But again, like, how did you start the F.A.T.E, and like, what exactly led you toward this original idea to start up the ecosystem?
Well, I think it all comes down to when we start discovering dividend tokens and tokens that had these payback functions for the community, right? So it's actually funny because when our project started, it started a bit like a meme project at the first, because I think we were the second token that forked Baby Cake. So it was the Baby Cake mania, then all the baby tokens came around, and Baby Cake was quite unique because it had that dividend payback tracker that everybody was receiving a cake instead of tokens. So we saw the opportunity with those because we saw the opportunity as having a share in a company that pays dividend. And if the company produces anything or brings revenue into the company, then people can get this benefit by receiving money from having their bags into the project. So at first we wanted to create a social platform, a decentralized social platform. We called it Frosting. And we're still going to do that, but we changed the focus a bit from the social platform to the payment methods, because before we want to build a social platform, we want to create crypto. We want to add this mainstream aspect to the crypto. We wanted to make crypto easier, and we want to give the people the ability to see crypto as they see real money, right? So we started to build this frosting network, this frosting platform, and then we shifted to free pay. And after we are gonna finish the development for the free pay fully, we're gonna come back and add everything that we made in free pay to the frosting social platform. So we made this platform, this payment platform, with the social aspect of it, like a link tree for payments, so we can get the mainstream adoption that we needed. Because a lot of projects right here, when they do development, and then when they do utilities, they always focus those utilities for the crypto normies, right? For the people who are already invested into crypto. Like you see projects that are building staking, you see projects that are building gambling with crypto, you see projects that are building pools or farms or so on. But you can't really address staking and the pools and the farms to the people outside of crypto, because only crypto enthusiasts, only them, they know the potential and they realize those utilities and they get access to those utilities. So our main goal is how we can make crypto more mainstream, how we can sell crypto products, how we can go to real world businesses and get real world revenues, and how to get those people that don't understand MetaMask, that don't understand BSC, how we can get them to use the products and the softwares inside of the BSC, inside of the MetaMask, right? So we had a long way of development. We had, I think, for a few days ago, we already have 1 year of existence with F.A.T.E Cake. We have 2 tokens right now. We have F.A.T.E Cake and F.A.T.E. F.A.T.E Cake pays dividends based on the holding bags that you have, and F.A.T.E pays dividends equally distributed to everybody. So even the small people will be able to receive dividends. Doesn't matter how much money you have invested, because we wanted to have a dividend token and a transaction token. So with the F.A.T.E, we wanted to use it as a currency token inside of Frosting, inside of the ecosystem that we are building. And the F.A.T.E Cake is just our dividend, our stock position, kind of. So
yeah, it's more of an investor token.
Yeah, it's more of an investor token. So yeah, we have a long roadmap from here on out, and we came very far away, because everything that we have in our project is built from ground zero. Nothing is forked, nothing is copied. Even though we started as a meme and we started as creating this decentralized social platform, and with the concept from Baby Cake in our token, we changed a lot. And even right now, we are working on this F.A.T.E 20, or this free easy 20 contract that will be like a standard token contract for all of our tokens or partners or the future of the ecosystem. We are right now we are even building a contract from scratch, so we can make our tokens better and more secured, and to understand 100% of the functionalities, to keep the community safer and to have more access into our tokens.
Right. I mean, we touch kind of interesting point, and that the community or crypto community tend to be kind of scammed or wrecked, right? So we need to find an environment and especially the product that fits the market. But still, we are watching a lot of kind of hype versus the product and real development. So I'm quite sure that guys from the launches are watching the launches, like what's happening during these times. Just need to
Oh, sorry, cut for a bit.
decline the call. Yeah, all good. So let's try to talk on this aspect, and that's the hype versus the product building. Because if right, so Midnight, like, what do you think that the current trend is? Like, do projects tend to build more of the product, or again rely on the hype thing? Like, what's the current trend?
Sorry, is that a question for me?
Yeah. Like, I want everyone to have a part.
Okay. Well, is it with regards to the trend of what's going on right now? To be fair, look, the trend right now is just who screws who. There's no really trend. The trend is going with all these grow coins, and they are really, it's kind of community is working against people that don't actually understand. Best thing to really do is utility tokens, not so much, because they're not going to get much sponsorship at the moment. So any tokens that says it's got utility, 99% of the time they haven't, because building a game costs millions. Doing certain things, yes, costs money, but you cannot raise the funds. So the trend really is just shitcoins. And it's going to be for about 6-7 months.
Thank you very much, Midnight, with this explanation, because a lot of people, they don't understand this. Like, they think they invest into a project and in like 2 weeks they will bring a AAA game, or they will build this mega big application that everybody's going to use. And people don't understand that, because people don't have patience. People don't understand how long it takes for somebody to develop a product, to develop a software. So they just ape into those hyped coins. Then they think the utility is going to come after 1 or 2 weeks. But in reality, to build a game that's functional, and also to have the web-free aspect integrated in it, it takes years. It takes months. It takes a lot of team, a lot of development, and millions of dollars. So, yeah. That's the point. That's the problem right now. The trend is focused on hype. The trend is focused on fake promises, and that's the problem right now.
So if like we are in this and still we are trying to push the project, like, for me, I think that a lot of the times the roadmaps are not even like correct, and a lot of time exaggerated, and then like people tend to believe that everything's gonna happen, as you are saying, just after the launch, or in the terms of like days, weeks, and it leads to kind of pump and dump scheme, and like investors are losing faith if there is this scheme happening. But the real question is, if we are a project owners that wanna try out the different way and set like all the details correctly into the roadmap, like how can we deal with that? Like, we need to maybe explain to the community and talk about the issues, and especially like educate, because I think that people do not even understand like how much it takes to develop game, a metaverse, right? Like CH. Again, what do you think? Like, maybe if you are a community owner, right? Do you think that your community is focused much more to the hype, or they are watching the roadmap, product building part? Like, what's the current state? in the Cheesus?
Honestly speaking, hype will always play a role in the decentralized index trading. It's always there. There's always a trend that we're currently following through. But the thing that I've been observing recently, because of the bear market as well, is that there is not much of a pump that hype causes. At the age where like baby Dodge, any kind of Dodge coins are like just pumping, everybody just aping. They don't care about the utilities and everything. So it's that much of a hype. It has a lot of impact, the hype, back then. Right now, hype also plays a factor, but right now, it's more in the utilities, you see. And you've been talking about the roadmap earlier. I totally agree with that. A lot of the projects, I think it's really funny that they add just anything they can think of to add in the roadmap. Like they wanted to have as long of a roadmap as possible to make people think that they have this list of things that they plan to do. But some of them are just like CMC listing, CG listing. Those shouldn't be in the roadmap. That's what I usually look for. Those are a given. So the roadmap is something I observe in terms of how technical and how short and concise it would be. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And in terms of, I guess my opinion about that, hype still plays a role, but not as much compared to the past.
Yeah, I think the problem with the roadmaps, I don't know right now, but the problem with the roadmaps before, they were very precise. When you look at the roadmap and you look at the project, you have this overview of what this project aims to be, what this project aims to deliver in the future. But when you're putting dates, like, oh, I'm going to bring this utility on this date, I'm going to bring this other utility on this date, it doesn't work like that. Like the word doesn't work like that. Obviously, you're going to have some problems in the middle. Obviously, sometimes some things will take longer to develop than others. So I think the project, they have this guilty that they want to create hyped times. They want to take the hype and pin it on a time. Like, oh, we're going to have this one. It's going to be hype here. We're going to have this utility coming at this date. Oh, we're going to have more hype here. But the concept of roadmap is to see where the project is going and to have like an overview of where they want to be, where they want to go. So they should not put times there. Like, they should not promise, I'm going to give you this in this date, I'm going to give you that in the other date. So it's good to have a roadmap, but you have to explain to the community that this roadmap will happen, but we don't know when it will happen, but this is our target. And when we're going to achieve that target, we're going to let you know before a few weeks or even at the target date. So yeah, don't put dates on promises, because promises are very hard to keep them real, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the problem I've seen with projects, right, and I've been here for a long time, I feel like the grandfather of DeFi and crypto a little bit. The biggest problem right now you face is people put roadmap is great, right? It's just an indicator of what you're doing. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to meet them targets.
Yes.
The issue projects have is putting nonsense like CH said here about like CMC listing. No one cares about. I certainly don't. If you list in CMC, great. It doesn't do much. If you're like planning to list on Binance and you've got negotiations with Binance, you wouldn't even put that there, because really Binance doesn't tolerate you advertising a partnership until it happens, right? Because they like to benefit themselves. So the biggest problem with projects is they have nothing behind them or to back them up or be sustainable. Issue is, I'll give you a few examples of metaverse tokens or gaming tokens. In order to start a gaming token, even to be considered seriously by the gaming industry or investors, you need to invest have like 10 million of your own money in your own pocket without investors going in to even start having a decent game. That's 10 million, right? And then you're looking at a 3-year roadmap to even deliver the game. Okay, you might be a genius developer, but one man can't do all, right? The society, unfortunately, is not as forgiving as it used to be back in the 90s, where you just release something and then you'll get like someone just come by, oh, I like your idea, here's 50 million. They don't do that no more. They get bored in 2 days, 2 minutes. Even like the old JP Morgans won't invest in you unless you got something that's sustainable for a while. So you got the
Yeah.
metaverse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got
Yeah.
metaverse. Like, oh, sorry, my friend's baby. Go ahead.
No, yeah. So one thing, for example, that bothers me with those type of projects where they advertise metaverses and all of those cool features and awesome stuff, yeah, they come here, they ask for pre-sale, for seed fund, they do all this marketing, they gather the community, but they don't have nothing to show, right? Like if you're building a game or if you're building something, like show me pictures, show me a intro of the game, show me a trailer, show me something that you already worked that you can show to the people that, look, this is what we are going to build, right? A lot of projects, they see those token launches and those crypto like a GoFundMe campaign. And crypto is not a GoFundMe campaign, right? You have to come here, show us what you already done, what you have in mind to do, give us some bites, so give us some free pieces to taste, right, of your game, of your something. Give us a demo, and if we like it, then we go and invest and help you building and finalize it, right? But they don't even show us anything. They just kept promising, and that's it. And that what bothers me. Like they see this whole crypto as a GoFundMe, and it's not a GoFundMe. Oh, sorry, I cut out. You're playing with investors' money. Yeah.
Right. And like we are touching the point of being sustainable, and I think in order to be sustainable with the project, we need some sort of revenue model, right, behind the token, the project, and simply something that gives the revenue towards the holders, but also the price appreciation. So is it actually the hype or the model product itself that drives the price? Like the question really lays there, and like I'm not even sure like if we are in the crypto community that looks much more for the hype or for this model. Like what do you guys think? Like is it possible to be sustainable build and have this on the table, or we need to touch the hype point also, like where to find the balance?
Well, this kind of goes hand in hand. You need to have the bit of hype aspect, but I think you need to have more of a utility aspect, because are you gonna present your project in front of few degenerates in the crypto space, or are you gonna present your project to real world people, to real businesses? Venture capitalists and real businesses, they don't invest in hype. They invest in utility and in structure, because they don't invest for 1 or 2 days. They invest for 1 or 2 years or even more, right? So that's one of the problems. When you make your project, you need to think who you're gonna address this project to. Are you gonna make a project for the Telegram crypto degenerate community or for the outside investors, right? So depends. I think for a longer sustainability and for longer longevity, you have to address everything to utility rather than hype, because hype will come like the bull run comes, right? It's going to be in cycles. Every time you're going to develop something, you're going to add an extra feature to your product. It's going to be hype if there is a community to back it up, right?
Correct. But still, if we are
Yeah.
talking about those Telegram kind of degen plays and such, I think this is kind of a place where we got the launches, the communities, and the project owners, and maybe also the launch owners. They're trying to push kind of different opinion, and I think it always stems from the leaders. So, guys, midnight, like, are you trying to focus both like on the trying to deliver the information on the project utility, but also looks up the hype, like how are you trying to fight this hype versus the revenue model utility scheme we got around there? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you unmute Gilded? Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Gilded is unmuted, and Midnight might have some struggles. So, hello. All good. That's okay. I will ask CH, and Midnight might have some connection troubles. So CH.
Oh yeah, I'm here. I kind of just listening. Yeah, I thought you called for midnight, and yeah.
Yeah. All good. So again, how are you trying to fight this hype versus the utility in your community? How are you trying to educate on this scheme?
I mean, to be honest, in my community, there are always some degen plays that are posted by any of the trusted members. But we always tell them, it's like an unwritten rule. Like if a degen play is going to be posted, it's going to rug at some point. I mean, consider it as a rug. I mean, if it doesn't rug, it's good. And if it does rug, well, that's on you. Your money, your choice, I guess. But in terms of like officially promoting a coin or a project, that is where we get really strict in terms of promoting to our community. But of course, anyway, as always, do your own research. No financial advice, but we do give some keywords that will make them like, this is a good project. We did, and of course, if we're really sure about this project and we're somehow able to land an AMA with them, it will be better because we'll be able to dissect their project and in terms of what they can offer to us. And if we see anything that might be suspicious or could be a what do you call this? A field of like doubt that we can have, then we can ask it on the AMA itself. So we can't really eliminate the degens because it actually keeps the community alive, but we're kind of lessening it because we don't want our launch to be like a gambling place where we can just ape in any degens that are posted. But as much as possible, we're trying to keep it professional in terms of getting as many professional projects or AMAs as we can get. And that's how we balance it out in our lounge.
Yeah, for me also, I think this is why the DeFi got popular, right? People can invest on easy basis, basically create the MetaMask and just jump into some sort of a project. But still, this is what makes me think about how these big projects got their market cap, right? So they need to act differently, trying to push the VCs, private investors. But if we are starting the project that we are trying to keep both a bit of a hype, but also to have this kind of aspect that we are building some product with a revenue model that's at place. I think we need to really push with the community and try to talk about this, and especially with the VCs. It is very hard to get some sort of a fund, and especially these days because it is a bear market, and it is really difficult to push if we are a bit of a smaller project, right? So maybe it stems from us, the project owners, that we need to talk about these aspects. Maybe let's talk about the goals, priorities, and basically how to prioritize the roadmap, and especially the milestones. Could you maybe shed light on the roadmap, and what is your approach in the F.A.T.E ecosystem, Vlad? Or Gillet, we got a Gillet also in here, so welcome, and thanks for attending.
No, I apologize. My vehicle actually broke down. My wife was stuck about 20 minutes away from here, so we had to get it towed and all that good jazz. But everything's good. So I don't know what you guys are talking about prior to, but I can certainly address what you just said. I think for any project, and I think this doesn't even matter what you're talking about either. You have to look at viability. You have to figure out what the inevitable business model is going to be. How will it actually make money outside of trading? Trading is it's a benefit to the community and to the project, but it can't be the sole source of revenue or new money coming into the project. So it's really important to figure that out. When I took over the F.A.T.E project at the beginning of this year, that was literally my number one priority, and has been my number one priority since taking over, is figuring out how do we come up with a way to generate actual revenue outside of trading, because our tokens are reward tokens. If the volume isn't there, there's no rewards. So you need a way to put volume on that chart outside of trading. That's just one example, but I think the same thing applies to any project. I mean, you got to look at what the costs of operation are going to be, how viable it is, and how you're going to make money, and how sustainable that is. Those are it's a business, and you have to treat it like that, I feel. And once you start to see these crypto projects do that, I think things will really start to change with respect to all these projects. And one thing I just picking up on some of the stuff I heard like recently here you guys are talking about, I should also mention too, is I think with these lounges, and what you guys are talking about in these podcasts, what's happening is that we're all kind of discovering the best way to filter out the bullshit, right? All of us agree that there's just too much scams, too much bullshit. It shouldn't just be for, off the cuff, kind of deal. Like the people should have to be, they should put a lot of thought and effort and investment and time into these projects before they even get to a point where people are investing or buying tokens on them. There needs to be kind of a full vetting process where projects kind of go through this chain of commands before they get to the point where people are actually even be able to risk their money on it, if that makes sense. I feel like these lounges and these podcasts and these kinds of things are these things starting to take shape. But there needs to be a more official mechanism or protocol for all projects to kind of adhere to, regardless of what chain they're on, and just kind of follow that map.
Right. And like that's the thing. If I want to hold some sort of a token project, I'm expecting to have some sort of revenue that's coming to me, and not only from the trading, right? Because if everyone is waiting for the price to push, and then they just sell because they are not watching the utility and they got no incentive to hold, then of course the price gonna dump. And that's the same thing with the staking, right? Like
the one thing I would just quickly interject there, I would say when you say revenue, I think you're being too specific. I think benefit is a more adequate term, because the benefit could be like your rewards might not be in revenue, it might not be in, it might be in access to certain things or whatnot later on. We don't know where NFTs or how any of these things are going to work down the road, how they're going to integrate with smart homes and smart cities and different technologies when it manifests in the real world. As far as the crypto aspect, so it's a cost benefit analysis, right? You're either buying a product as a customer, and that might become, that might be buying a token, that might be buying an NFT, right? Or you might be investing in something that's an NFT or a token. Like both are possible, I guess is my point. But it really, I mean, there needs to be a benefit regardless of which side of the equation you're on, whether it's actual in terms of actual, revenue as cash in your hand, or whether it's actual services that you're receiving as a product.
Yeah, and like I was touching the staking, right? Like even if we drop a stake in and people are expecting to have the money back for some sort of APR, just stake and get either tokens to sell, so they got some revenue. But still, we are in the scheme of dumping the price, and there is nothing backing on the revenue, and by time it just dies, right? And this is something even the CZ told, like, why would you do staking if there is no product that drives the revenue to holders? Like, why should they hold then when the staking comes out with the
exact same problem.
Lock-in period, right?
Yeah, it's the exact same problem as the reward token without volume. Like, there has to be something holding it up. It's the reason why stable coins don't work, or at least the algorithmic ones, I should say. A stable coin, in the true sense, needs to have backing. It can't be debt. It can't be, 50% this and 50% that. It needs to be, in my opinion, dollar for dollar if you're going to talk about having a stable coin. Like it has to have assets and equity to back it up. And reward tokens, staking, it's all the same. Right? If there's nothing there to bring in money and all you're relying on is trading volume, then literally all you have at that point is just people passing money to each other or taking money from each other, whichever way you want to look at it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, for those projects that have staking but they don't have any utility, it's even more damaging for the project, right? Because as soon as you have staking but nothing else, then people will just take their coins, receive more coins, and dump the chart harder and harder.
Oh man, exciting news, and then they're just gonna say they're gonna be enabling staking projects.
Yeah, I mean, staking as utility, no, you can't have staking utility, or you're fucking mad.
Yeah, so I think this really drives up the whole thing towards the business model, right? With what we are coming in order to start up the project or anything else, like how can we start up the company without any idea what we are trying to do, right? Like we need this or we need a revenue in order to pay for the salaries and such. Like if we are on a launch pad, raise something, this is not something that will cover everything most of the times, and by time we will run out of the funds. So do you think that the projects we are seeing that are launching in the space are lacking the business model and just copying some schemes, memes, and like whatever, but simply maybe there should be more of a business model focused behavior in this project owners, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? If you don't have any vision or anything to bring on the table, then why you come to the table in the first place?
That's right.
Yeah, and
I mean, that's right.
And that's something.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's something quite interesting. Like in those call channels, people are kind of referring to older devs project. So like they are launching projects and projects over and over again, right? And they are just trying to push the price with a marketing or some sort of hype, and they already know that the project is gonna die. So like not sure where we lay currently right now with the crypto mindset in the community, but I guess by time the crypto community will educate more a bit on like why we are investing, like where the model and the business model lays. So this is or this might be kind of visual thinking, but again, I think this comes to the owners also with the launch pads. Like if I would have a launch pad and see that the project completely lacks anything that will drive the revenue, that there is like no plans to have some sort of a product, right? Then it can simply lead toward a catastrophe.
You couldn't be more right. I mean, the launch pads themselves they may not want to admit it. And it's something that we built our own launch pad back in October, November. Not to the same degree that you see a Pink Sale or the X Sale, but it was a pretty interesting and little, very easy to use launch pad, and it worked really well. And the moment that it worked, the first, a lot of people in the community, they want to use it to launch other tokens for everybody else as a source of revenue. Sounds great on paper, but I struggle with this exact point, and that is like you put in all this work to build something, and then you're literally attaching your name to all the shit projects that launch underneath you. And whether or not you think you wear that or not, to some degree you do, because you're the one that's promoting them, you're the one that's facilitating that all to happen in the first place. You're not completely responsible, but there's definitely a role there. And I think that it goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier, where there needs to be some sort of application process where, you don't just get on a launch pad. Like, there needs to be some requirements met. You need to have some sort of track record and history of working and building something and showing that you're serious about the project before you even get to the point where you can take people's money. These are just very simple concepts, but I think they would have a huge impact if all the launch pads, kind of adopted this kind of a protocol. There needs to be some cooperation and coordination between different projects and different launch pads to create some sort of a standard, so that there is a kind of a process, a best practices process to follow, both as a project if you're serious about building one, or as an investor if you're serious about finding projects to invest in.
Because the real truth is, with those lounges and those launch pads, if they would not promote any of those weird tokens and those weird developers, we would not have this conversation that we have right now, right? Because they are the front line of the crypto marketing. If those scammers and if those people that are launching a lot of gambling coins and a lot of rugs every day, if they would not have a place where they can promote their scams, then those scams would not be a thing, right?
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's just like the launch pads. Like there's a benefit to having things as loose as they are right now. Okay, there is, because legitimate projects, even though you don't necessarily want the result that we're seeing as far as the scams are concerned, good people and legitimate teams have been able to fund themselves and build good projects. That's great, but we have to do something about the other side of it, and we have to acknowledge that it's a problem. And I think a lot of people in the space just don't want to, they don't want to see it as a problem, because they just say it's just crypto, because they see that as their only real way of making anything out of the space. And that's unfortunate, because it's not true. But I think that, again, if we all collectively kind of figure out, best practices and convince these launch pads to take this more seriously, to put some sort of wall up that allows it to so that that at least if a project's getting launched on a pad, that at least there's 3 to 6 months worth of work that's gone in to getting on that launch pad, right? Like,
yes.
There's something there backing it up. It's not just a piece of paper that says we're going to do this and get on CMC.
At the end of the day, with the launch pads and the promotional channels and everything, you have to think about, do they care more about their reputation, or do they care more about how much money they can make in one day? Because if they would cut all of this garbage that is coming through the pipe, they would have to reduce the funds. They will not get as many funds. So this is what comes down to
make when I decided to shelve the launch pad, because it's a revenue source, and I had a lot of people want me to not shelve it and push it, because of course it's money. So saying no to money is not easy, but sometimes it's just the right thing to do to protect the greater good of the project.
Right. But like, if we are in this kind of situation, environment, where the degen plays are prevalent, we are still very, very early in the awareness of this whole scheme happening. I think it is quite important to talk about how to try, at least, drive the serious investors in the project and basically raise the brand awareness. What do you think, guys, as a project owners, we can do to get these serious investors and at the same time build a brand?
The best thing to do, really, from I don't know if you know my background, but I run quite a few small businesses, as well as help startups grow. So best thing to do, really, is having a solid plan and a solid team. If you have a solid plan with any business, and you actually stick to your guns and you do what you promise, the investors will come themselves. And the ICOs, as long as you've got the plan, but 99% of the projects here in crypto, they don't know left from right. So issue here is, as long as you're consistent, you know what product you're building, you've got a solid plan, you've got a decent business plan, you've got light paper, full white paper, and you've got a marketing strategy, you've got backup plans. These type of things, right? Investors want to know that you have, because the investors, the standard investors that you're going to get are going to be people that really don't understand investing and what they're investing in. And these guys, as soon as something bad happens, or you make a little mistake and some people get scared and sell out, then they follow through. You don't want them type of investors. You want investors that believe in the product and actually won't sell. They trust you with what you're doing. The type of investors that are here on BSC, they're not really investors per se. They're just gamblers.
Yeah, I mean, a retail investor is a good description of it as well. But you're exactly right. Like, you're spot on with everything you just said. The retail investors don't even know what questions to ask. Is what it boils down to. They don't know what to do. VCs and investors, they know what questions to ask. They know what to look for in a viable project. And that makes all the difference in the world. So that's why I think it's, when you look at the lounges and you look at the launch pads, those two collectively, that's where the experts should be, right? And that's where the filter should be. That's where the vetting process should be. That's where if someone has an idea, just because they have an idea, that doesn't mean they get to launch a token. They have to build it out. They have to get it to a certain point before they can even get an AMA. And then once they've got the AMA and they've gotten it to a certain point, and they've gotten, then now maybe they might be eligible to apply to get onto a launch pad. It's just like if you want to get a loan to start a business, you got to put together a business plan and take it to the bank. Or if you want to get an investor, you have to put together. You have to do one of two things. You have to either put together a banging business plan that like he said, had plans for everything, or you have to have a solid business plan with a viable working product. One of the two things that's how you get investors. So again,
one thing that we're sorry, go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
Hey, better late than never. I'm here. But one thing that we are looking into to help with this whole thing is on our swap, on our DEX, we're gonna make a list of we want to make a list. Again, if anyone can launch a token on there, that's cool. But we want to make a list of like a check mark, like a blue check mark sort of a situation, right? And this means, we know you, we've seen you, we've Skyped, we've looked at your stuff, we've had a lot of eyes on it, so that we can in good faith recommend that the project is legitimate, it serves a function, there's a reason for it to exist, and everybody's a good faith actor.
That's awesome. And that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to work with you guys, even though you guys are new, is because of stuff like that. Because I wanted to ask you so many questions about that. When something that's directly related to that, and I don't want to get us off track here, but I just got to know, is when a contract is already known to be rubbed or known to be malicious, there has to be a way to just turn this stuff off. I can't understand why we just have this minefield of malicious contracts that just are out there.
So we're actually we're in the process of building a board. People, not me, smart, big brain people, that will be able to identify, if this is, they just ripped off the, Cheems token or whatever, and it's just that contract. We're looking into ways to straight up blacklist people, and to really dig back through the ledger and see have they done the scams before. We're just trying to provide a little bit of governance. I know it's decentralized, but some people just go crazy and they just launch scam after scam after scam, and Now, I don't want to take all responsibility off of the investor, because like it has to go both ways, right? But yeah, if we're looking into ways that we can just completely shut somebody down if they're doing it over and over, and
I don't think
leaving them shut down.
The key is no one group is fully responsible, but collectively we are. Right, so the investor obviously has responsibility because they have to do their research on these projects. They just have to. They have to read something. I mean, a lot of them don't even read the pinned messages on your groups, right? So true. You got to start with that, man. Just read the updates. But like then you got the the lounges and the launch pads. I mean, all three kind of bear some responsibility. I do think on the chain side of things, I absolutely was certain there must be ways to do something. Like I can't stand the fact that there's so many malicious contracts out there that just live, and they're like minefields. Like people that don't know any better or are completely unsuspecting or uneducated, they fall into these traps like they're nothing. Like there's got to be something we can do about that, I feel. Outside of just massively kind of curating a list of known good projects, which is my best option at this point, that I've been able to discern. But I completely, I think that it's a matter of, like I said, the investors, the lounges, and the launch pads somehow collectively coordinated in a way, creating some body of standards or procedure, best practices on how tokens and projects should be launched, and educate people that if tokens don't follow this method, then they're clearly outside the bounds. Almost like if you're on a ski hill and you see a do not pass kind of sign, don't go here. If they go there, I mean, you can't stop them. But, we need to try and protect as many people as possible and educate people about this stuff. And it's all of us. It's no one group of us.
Yeah, a big step I think is doing it via the DEX, right? Like, you can have like a warning, this is not, trade at your own risk, or hey, this is a good project, they've been around for a year, they're building. So just to give people a bit of guidance.
Hold on, and you are like crackling. So if you can fix that, would be perfect. Try to maybe connect and disconnect the speakers or headphones.
Yeah, but no, you guys are totally right. We have to come as a decentralized group together to take the garbage out. But it's hard. Like, for example, we have this task to do, and when you go to Facebook or when you go to Twitter, you see all those scam ads that are popping out, and those are centralized entities. They are not decentralized.
I actually think Facebook and Twitter and Facebook is probably one of the most guilty out there. Because you can literally see ads with Mark Zuckerberg's face on it, launching token after token after token after token. Now, I don't know what that man is doing. I don't know where his brain's at. But that is the most asinine thing I can ever imagine, to let your fucking name go down like that. On your own website.
Yes. Or the official Facebook coin just launched, and you see this advertisement on Facebook, right?
It's unbelievable. But he does just like the rest of the space and what we call scammers. In my opinion, I mean, he cares more about money. It's all just revenue, right? That $85 billion a year, right? And like I said, I know we all want to make money. Obviously, we have to survive. All of us do. But
with what cost?
There needs to be a better way. There needs to be a more sustainable way, right? And Facebook, I don't know, like as a community, as a crypto community, I think it would be crazy and awesome at the same time if the crypto community got together and literally just hammered on Facebook for their role in promoting all these scams and these runs, because they're the ones that are making the most money off of it.
So the fun fact is, do you guys remember a Squid Game token when it first launched in the middle of the bull market, and it was literally a honeypot, a giant honeypot, right? and they didn't have communities. Everywhere you went on their Telegram, you were not allowed to chat or to write any messages, and they had a lot of followers on Facebook. One reason why those guys managed to steal $2 million in the biggest honeypot that was ever created in 2021 was because of Facebook ads. That's it, because they were the first token to invest thousands and probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in Facebook ads. Squid Game token. That was literally a honeypot.
Squid Game is the only one I won't talk bad about because it was just like the show. What happened?
It's just one man winning at the end, like in the TV series. The developer won.
Yeah.
Well, it was probably the most honest token, right? If you want to look at it from that respect, you knew what it was. Everybody knew what they were getting with that token.
Everybody watched Squid Game.
Everybody knew what they were getting with that token.
Right,
you didn't have to do research.
If you are talking about the trust, I think it is very important to touch the community, and especially our own communities, as we are kind of influencing our own community, right? So how do you manage to keep the community investors updated, in touch? Like, I think we are in kind of a club of people and like the owners that are trying to push some different ways and try to have this overlap and push with the community. So how do you guys manage to keep the community updated and in touch?
Okay, from the Fat Cake side of things, well, you got VC, you have community managers, you have partnerships with your lounges. So just through those three, you can reach out to, nobody sits in one group forever. They bounce around a lot. But with your partnerships with lounges, you can send a message that way. You can be on VC to send a message. Or if somebody doesn't have like their microphone or a headset, they can always type. So there's that side of it. Yes, you can use other social media, but the thing is, for us, I believe word of mouth quickly gets out a lot quicker, because if you're posting on social media and stuff, they might not see it. It could get missed. And a point that you brought out was pinned messages, an ideal one.
Yeah, if you can, I think we're a good example of that, because I really tried to do everything and anything possible to keep people updated. Right, I post updates on a regular basis, weekly newsletters, podcasts, demos, screenshots and ads, like all kinds of stuff. And our community is pretty quiet. We don't have a lot of questions, but when we do, it's always somebody that doesn't even take the time to look at even the first pin message, let alone anything below it. So there's a point there where there's only so much you can do, right? Like I've overdone it with the information, so that there's literally very few questions, and it's good to work that way, in my opinion. But some people might look at it differently. They might not want to be as available in VC. I don't see the problem, but that's my opinion. Whatever. I'm always in VC to answer questions. I think that, again, it's like we were talking about from the very beginning. When I got on, it's you have to treat it like a business. Like if you want customers, i.e., investors or people that part of your project, then your door got to be open. If that means opening on Sundays, well, you got to open on Sundays. It's really that simple.
Yeah, but still only a little project owners are actually doing this, and especially, for example, using Medium articles kind of to explain like what's going on, and even like why it should affect the price or not, or like what's being built. Like how can the community understand what the product is and what we are trying to push if they simply don't understand? Of course they will join because there's a hype, like what is that, but if they don't understand how can they like stay, invest, and hold, right?
I think that's something that's kind of slightly different for every project, because it all kind of comes down to what your project is about and how you message that and how you present that. In some cases, your best vehicle may be video. In other cases, it might be white papers or medium articles, like you said. There's no one solution or one cookie cutter solution for all. I don't think. I think it's a combination of all for everything. You kind of just got to pick and choose which vehicle is best for you or whatever your product is or your service is or what your project is doing.
Right, Spas. How that's been in the Phoenix?
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. I mean, we do a weekly thing in our channel. We come on these things just to show it's like, yeah, we're real people. We're here and we do the updates, pin messages, and we totally we never, if someone is too lazy to read the pin messages and they just want to DM us, that's cool too. I got a little, I've got like a little 10-point bullet thing. I could just send it to you. You can call me if you want to. I'll pick up.
That's right.
But yeah, it's just showing like, yeah, we're actual people and we're actually working. We're here.
Right. And in the terms of especially getting the brand awareness, like, do you guys think that even in the crypto space, that's kind of different from the real world, but shouldn't be, I think, at least for some decent reasons. Do you think that the partners, backers, are necessary in order to survive, or we can just rely on the community, building socials, but do you think that these aspects plays a role in order to survive?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we're a blockchain, so if we didn't have any partners, it would just be a blockchain with no tokens on it. So
yeah, no one of us lives in a vacuum, right? So I mean, we're not gonna the investors that you have. There's in all likelihood the investors that I have. I mean, there's so much overlap with the community, with the whole crypto space. Yeah, I mean, it's a collection of partnerships without even knowing it, really. And like he said, I mean, he's a blockchain, so he's building a platform that's literally made for other projects by and large. That's his project, So partnerships are going to be key for them going forward, and they're going to be key for, I think, any crypto project going forward. And if you look in the real world, that is also the case. Do you think Pepsi or Coca-Cola would be as big if they didn't have McDonald's or the big restaurant chains or the big sport teams or there's a reason why these partnerships and sponsorships happen. Because the best results are always happen when people work together. It's these are very simple concepts, but they get lost, especially in crypto, mostly because of the complexity, and even more so because of the anonymity and this ability to just do whatever you want. Kind of brings out the worst in people.
Right. There are a lot of hotheads in the space. I've noticed it does tend to attract. So yeah, it's we've been lucky to find all the good, reasonable people.
Right, and maybe like this is the way and approach how to really push the ideas toward the communities, right? Because if we are united and trying to push something different, then we might find a success, right? Because like how do these big influencers, won't name anyone, make their name? Well, they got something that people look up to. If that's pump and dump, yes, it can be, but still there is a trust that there's gonna be a pump and people are just blindly following. So maybe if we manage by time to make this into maybe even more mainstream thing, to have podcasts, talks, to try to interact, then maybe we could change the space a bit more towards this pole where we want to be, right? Like, of course, the degen nature still is gonna be there, but I think by time the people could find a new way of investing, and of course, like people are looking for a profit. But if there is a safe way or more safe way to get this profit, and especially if they see that there is some business model and they can drive the revenue differently than just aping to a token blindly that could be wrecked and you lose everything, to simply have your trust into a project that's building, then this might be the right approach to find where to lay the funds, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to another theme, and that's like the definition of a successful community, right? So this is both for us project owners, launch owners. So how do we decide and define the community that's actually proven and that stands behind the project? Like, what feedback you are using to get this sort of a reassurance that your community is on the right path, and that you and your updates you are trying to push toward the community being accepted, and there's some sort of let's say successful measures you are able to present these ideas. Like how do you guys find the feedback from the community? And maybe Spas, yeah.
We've never had a hard time getting feedback. I mean, people will, if they, I mean, a lot of it's, trash, but we read every message, so yeah, it's just, you just gotta, I found that as long as you make yourself approachable, people will give you feedback, or if maybe you have an update, but no one really cares about it, someone will say, oh, you worded it like this. If you present it like this, people will get excited about it. Oh, okay, cool. We've got more holders than developers, obviously. So we're always just be open to feedback.
I mean, I think that one of the most interesting parts of from our perspective, at least from my perspective, is prior to crypto, building an application and then trying to get people to beta test it was a challenge unto itself. In the crypto space, that's not true, right? So what we found from the beginning, since I started working with this project, is like literally building things in front of people, allowing them to have access to the same version that you have, and just letting them watch it kind of evolve as you build it out, and keep updating them and getting and asking people to specifically test specific features and functions. That can be immensely helpful and collaborative, and help in building that community. If people have something bad to say, they won't hesitate. But by and large, if you're not getting we don't get a whole lot of questions, like I said, and I think by and large, people are pretty happy with the progress we've made. I mean, I've even had some of my biggest fudders, quote unquote fudders, contact me in the background, half-heartedly apologizing and recognizing how cool some of the stuff we're building is. So it's just a matter of people have to be patient. They have to understand that things take time. They just have to, but they have to, if they really want their investment to work and they really want to make the money, then they actually have to be part of the process. They have to work too. It's not just free. I mean, we say it's passive income. Passive doesn't mean free. Passive doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you do very little, but you still have to do something. So I think that's an important point to drive home.
Also, a good infographic goes a long way. Like for F.A.T.E is a good example. I will be honest, I don't usually read the pin messages, but they produce an infographic. If you look at it, 30 seconds, boom, you know everything that you need to know right there. We've been working with people to do that also. We learned real quick that an infographic, people will look at an infographic before they'll go through and read anything. It's even better than a white paper. So yeah, that's another just a shout out.
Yeah,
images explain more than the text does, right? So that's one reason Gilded is doing this, and we wanted to do this because we have to find ways where we can spoon feed our investors information. So it will be more attractive to watch, more attractive to see, and easier to understand when you look at just images.
And plus, I just thinking about this just now. It's got to be much easier if your English is if you have English as a second language or something like that. It's got to be way easier to have an infographic.
Yeah, especially if you want to understand the backbone of a structure or how stuff is going on in the background. For example, with our software, with FreePay, how it actually works in the background, what it actually does. Rather than explain it, you can show just a few graphics where your money goes and where it who receives it.
And I try to find the balance between graphically and visually showing people how something works and explaining it. Because if you just write something, no one's going to read it. So at least if you add some visual elements, and like flow charts and literal demos and things like that, screenshots, just tell people what you're doing and as briefly as you can, and then give them a visual on how it works. I've been doing that from the beginning, and I like that, and then they've been able to go to what I'm describing and actually use it and test it and tell me whether or not it works according to how I've written and visualized. I've really tried to include the people that want to be included in the whole process.
I think just to back that up, I would say you're looking at something which is black and white, you're reading it, but then you might be in the real world, you'll go out, you'll see a billboard or a poster or something, and something catches your eye, you're going to be drawn to it. And that's what you'll be paying a lot more attention to it, maybe even spend a few minutes reading what that is all about. So visually, you're more perceptive to have an in-depth look.
Yeah, 100%. I'm in my 30s, but I got that Zoomer ADD brain. So if I can understand it quickly, then anyone can.
Yeah, right. This is the thing. Even if you want to push an article or some sort of a lengthy banner or any other kind of material that push the updates on the project, still people tend not to read, and that's the problem. And how to actually fix that? We are trying to have this comments with rows and repeated messages in a chat that goes in around every 4 hours about something, but still it is very hard to educate the community on the project itself and more about the ideas behind. So this is another thing that the project owners maybe should focus more on delivering this and the updates toward the community rather than those calls, right? That just bump the price and everybody saw afterwards or after the CMC CG pump. That's crazy.
Yeah, those are not even a thing anymore. It used to be when we were speaking back then about the roadmaps, because people were adding CG and CMC in their roadmaps. It used to pump the projects, but now it does absolutely nothing. The marketing in crypto, it shift a lot, and it will shift. The marketing that you done 3 months ago is not the same marketing that can pump your project right now, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And even if they got that CMC and CG in the roadmap, still they can't be sure that the CMC and CG will actually list, right? I've listed a few projects myself, and I know the struggle sometimes. Even the smallest thing can ruin the whole process. So you need to be very careful. And if you got to know right LP and such, then it is very hard to actually list.
Yeah, it's best to only put stuff in your roadmap that you have 100% control over. We learned that the hard way when we launched our parent token before we did the blockchain and reconfigured the governance. We learned very fast that you don't just say, hey, I'll put my token up, and they say okay. It's a lot more involved than we thought.
Yeah, I think what you just said there is key, right? What you can control. You got to stick with what you can control. And I think that for any project, this is key for the team, no matter what the size, whether you're one person or whether you're 10. You have to be chained together, and there has to be a collective effort by everybody that's in that team. And they got to be reliable. They got to be trustworthy. They got to have each other's phone numbers. They got to be, they got to be on speed dial. This is if this was a ship in the middle of the ocean, that's all you got. And I think that it's important that be a part of the thinking of any project and then the leadership of that project, because you can only contribute, like you said, it's all about what you can control, right? So.
Right. Well, guys, it's been almost an hour and a half. I think it is time to let people speak if they got any questions. So, guys, if you want to join the discussion, be sure to raise your hands, and I will allow you to speak. Just be sure to raise the hand, and if you got anything to add on to the discussion, just feel free to join and talk with us. And again, do not be shy. All right, I will end the recording part right now, so we can talk a bit afterwards, just to be sure that we got this for the YouTube.